Greetings, dear, magnificent, sweet, precious, strong, fierce, no, calm, whatever you want. You could see, you've got all these possibilities, you see, because it's who you are. Spirit, soul. Anyway, feels so good to be out here. Now breathe into your heart. Feel the breath in your nostrils. You know, get those shoes off if you can. Notice where you are. You got to be right there. Because how are you going to get there if you're not right here, you see? Because when you're right here, you're always right there, which is interesting. Now, my topic. Don't take on other people's stuff. You know, it's just like, I got this the other day. That, okay, not everyone is really good at expressing their feelings or communicating, because that's a challenging thing to communicate, because oftentimes we've been shut down or hurt, laughed at, ridiculed, threatened, harmed in some way because of something that we said that the other person didn't like or didn't want. They didn't want to hear it. So they're going to hit you. Don't you say that. See, this is what expectations do. Is that, well, I expect you're all supposed to be this certain way, and I only want to hear this or see this or do that. So then we want to lock down so that we don't have actually freedom of speech, because we're so caught up in trying to control others so that we have no surprises, so that we feel good. That's basically so you feel good, feeling no pain. Whew. Now, you have to look at where the source of pain comes from, because there's physical pain, but it's also, if you're not in the body, it's like, you know, some hair comes out, or, you know, you cut your fingernails, or you do something, you throw it in the fire. That doesn't, you don't feel that because you're not with that any longer. That's not attached to your central nervous system and how you feel and how the body operates. So what happens then, getting back to how we've been taking on the pain of others. And what I realized is that when people don't actually own their own feelings or their emotions, or they make a story out of something that happened, and then they add it up and the mind starts going, and then they decide you're bad or they're good, or you're good and they're bad, or you're going to get even the next time, and the next time I'll show you, I'll do this. Well, this is called game on, because this is a never-ending game. It's not a never-ending story. The story's over. You don't need a story. The narrative. Come on. You only get that. Okay. When you do your spiritual study, you're a rootist. You're not really interested in believing anything or on a lockdown. You are already a free spirit. That's who you are. And so you are doing your own exploration and sleuthing work, and what you know when you find it. You see, you have to know that too. You have to know when you find it. So anyway, when other people don't take responsibility, ownership for their own, what they're believing and what they're involved in, then they shut down emotionally and they're suffering. Now, what happens is, if you're a feeling person, and we are, that even though oftentimes you try not to, you're going to take on those feelings. Those are their feelings. You didn't have those feelings. Now you're taking on their feelings. And at one level, if they're using, and most people are manipulators, so they're all trying to manipulate to get what we want and to dominate or to avoid domination, because that's how the mind operates. That's not how you operate. That's how the mind operates. You got to know the distinction between you and the mind. Okay, so then what happens is, what I noticed, when I was married the first time, and in that, it was a great learning experience. But you know, not going to get into this right now. But anyway, that person, even to this day, does not ever own their feelings or their emotions, or has really no sense of spirituality, who they really are at all, and operates fully from the mind. And so being around someone like that, he had to drink a lot and do all these kind of things. So anyway, and they do nasty things, words and all these kind of things, because they're miserable, and they're so out of touch, and they have had so many hurt feelings. There's so much fear, or they've been abused or sexually abused as children. That's why you have to look at that. There's nothing good about, having sexual relationships with children, because it harms the children in that sense. And it harms, and that's, you don't want to cause harm to any living entity. And whether they agree to or not. See, that's another thing. That's another thing you have to look at. And when we have like real freedom. So what I noticed in my life, in relationships, often I would take on the feelings and the emotions of the other person that they were not owning and experiencing. It was being projected because we're sensitives. We're all sensitives. It's just like you say to somebody, "What's the matter?" "Nothing." "Well, is anything wrong?" "No." "Well, are you okay?" "Yes." Now, they're lying. But this is what people do. And then words are used to lie and to cover. So all of this kind of stuff. And what we want to do is, I realize I don't have to suffer for someone else's pain. Not that if I'm contributing to it, I'm doing something like that. If I intentionally, I want to correct that right away, because you got to make amends. And however you do that is, and it's because we followed the mind, and instead of following the heart. That's where the choices come. You got to know about this. So anyway, I realized. And so then I declared to myself, and knowing I don't have to take on someone else's pain. I don't. When someone says, "Well, you want to get into that, and you want to visualize that, and you want to experience that." No, you don't. These are our creative powers, and you're using them in a way that's against you and against everyone. Okay, that's why it's essential to have this knowledge. This is what it's all about. This is the greatness of that. So anyway, that's big. And so what happens when you're around a lot of people, they just stuff their emotions and feelings. You're wacko. And then they call you crazy because you're the sensitive one going, crying. It's them, you see. And how we have to learn to protect ourselves is to no longer, what may I say, take on the emotions of others in order to help them, you see. The way we help them is to be as truthful as we could be, to be who we are, and to avoid participating in these mind games and emotional games. And all of this, that is a distraction from who you really are. Okay. Talk to you soon.